do need to stream in this orientation here. Slide that fan over. All right. So what I'm doing is I have a couple of shears here that I'm going to be doing some work on. I've already done some work on the inside of this one blade. I'll show some of the work I'm doing on the other one as well. But on this one, I created a new ride line on the face, on the inside of the shear. I did rework the other one as well. But this shear has, let's see if we can get this to come in where you can actually see it. Come on. Quite a bit of scratches on this. Let's go ahead and bring this over to the magnifier. Drop this down. Come on, get in there. There we go. And you can actually see that there's quite a bit of scratches left on this face. This was from a previous sharpener. You can see the bevel that I'm having to deal with here. So we're going to correct these things. I've already corrected the ride line on the inside. I started doing a casting, trying to do it again from front facing so I could see questions as they it just changes the orientation of the picture, and I wasn't able to do that and make that work. So yeah, I'm kind of picking up. Please feel free to shout out, and I'll see if I can get those answered for you. I have a 400 grit disc on the machine right now, and I've got a fixture set for 45 degrees. So now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to start to re-round the front surface of the shear and cut my angle in at 45 degrees. It's going to take me a little longer to get to the tip because it looks like it was cut in at a shallower degree. And we've almost brought that in. We're going to bring that in as close to the tip as we can. Now we're going to do additional work on the front surface of the shear. Try and get rid of some of the scratches or make the preparation to get rid of some of those scratches and fully reconvex this front surface on this blade at least. I'm going to knock down the back side of that angle just a little bit more up above where the edge is of the shear. Just to smooth that out. Stroke that curvature in. Make sure we're getting all the way to the throat. We just did. And we'll shut that down. I'm going to take this out and take a look at the work that was done. That was a lot of work that was done. I'm going to go ahead and magnetize this blade. Pull the burrs back with a brush. This is a soft bristled brush. So I can see new burrs pop up when I switch over to a finer grit disc. And then pull the burrs off that were existing from this 400. It's about a 1500 grit. Clamp this in. And this is all going to be cosmetics. Bringing up a burr at the edge. Making sure that other burr starts to pop off. And now I'm doing convexing on the front surface. What I'm doing is I'm disturbing the scratch pattern as well to try and get rid of the scratches that were on the shear, and I'll also do a circular motion too to help to disturb that. If your machine will not allow you to do these types of motions, then it may be time to look at an upgrade. This is the Toku unit, and I do sell these units. If you don't have free-floating side-to-side motion, that can create a problem with being able to work quickly on the machine. All right. So again, I'm going to pull those burrs back. I just want to look at my ride line before I re-establish it again. That looks good. Convex surface looks good again. Get rid of those bevels that were on there. start by pulling back towards myself on the waterstone. I want to make sure that I pull any burrs that are left over out of the way. I'm just going to make sure that I have a well-established ride line. I'll do about 10 or 12 strokes, come to a complete stop, lift off, and I always want to make sure I come to a complete stop. Ride line looks good. Because there was a heavy amount of scratches, I'm going to go ahead and add some compound. To my felt pad, just to make the polishing easier. I already have a good bit of compound embedded in the pad, so I don't have to add a lot. Just want to make sure I keep it nicely charged. Sorry for that noise in the background. It's my inverter kicking in just to make sure it stays cool. So I'm polishing up my edge to start to make sure that I fully deburr the blade. I'm going to rotate back slightly to make sure I get right behind that edge. And I'm going to do some polishing. Because there are such heavy burrs on there, I'm going to use a little bit more pressure than I normally would when I'm doing this. But I'm not going all the way to the edge. I'm just polishing the front surface. And we'll take a look at where we are right now. I'm going to come back to the edge, rotate back, rotate up, lightening my pressure to remove any scratches, and then I'll take off additional scratches towards the spine, just doing some freehand work. All right, so we'll see where we're at. So cosmetically, the convex looks better, but a lot of those deep scratches are still there on the blade. Let me show you what I mean. Down in the magnifier, see if we can get that in there well enough. There we go. Oop, it's the inside. Let's see if we can turn that to where we can see the scratches on the surface. There we go. You can see there's a lot of scratches up towards the spine. There's some scratches still on the throat, so we'll take care of that. Sorry for all the movement on this, guys. I want to be able to show this. I've tried shooting it from a bar that I have that's just up above me here, which worked well enough, but I can't really show the full extent of what I'm trying to accomplish a lot of times. Now I'm taking care of those additional scratches up in the area above the edge, up towards the spine. I'm going to take care of the additional scratches as well that are in the throat area, being careful not to turn too far towards that edge because we've already cleaned up the edge in the throat. And you can see I'm basically mimicking what I was doing with the fixture, or I should say that this fixture allows me to mimic what I can do freehand. Alright, a little bit better, but still not great. You don't want to go too crazy with pressure either. You need to let the paste, the diamond paste, is a 3-micron diamond paste, do its work. Because you don't want to get it too hot. You still want to be able to touch it without it burning it. If you're putting too much pressure on it, you can affect the tempering of the blade. So be cautious of that. And then this is better. There's still some deep-seated scratches, and I had told the customer that I was going to get as many of these scratches out as I could, all the way at the edge, you're certain, and then across the face. This time, I'm probably going to leave this the way that it is, and then we'll go ahead and we'll remove some scratches the next time that I actually do these shears. So they understood that and knew that. Let's see, what grit are you using right now? And what are your thoughts on CBN or diamond hook and loop discs? I don't use CBN or diamond hook and loop discs. I use silicone carbide. The other discs are fine though, I'm sure. And then the grits that I'm using is a 1500 on this plate, and this is a 3 micron diamond paste. I started with a 400 to go ahead and reconvex the front surface, and then to take off some of the really, really heavy scratches that were there before that I showed earlier in the video. Yeah, there's some good scratches on this one too, a little bit further up, but it goes into the writing on the shear, so we a little bit of that as well. And we'll see if we can get those scratches off, because this was not done, at least across the face, which was good. Keep that burr on, rotate back. I'm going to create this convex with this progressive edge, more so than a like a swooping convex. The reason I want to do that is I don't want to deface the shear. All I want to do is just correct the bevel that's done on the bottom of the shear and then blend it into the face. There's actually a hole in the middle of this shear as well where the burr is not wanting to come up here. So we're going to ease that in. So I'm rotating as I go back and forth. That just gives me a little bit of control how far up the face of the shear that I go. So I'm going to do a blended convex on this one. Same thing here as we creep our way up towards the tip. Alright, and we're up to the tip, about as close as we're going to get. I didn't get to show this earlier because I had a little bit of a mix up on a couple of the stuff that I was trying to do on this live, and I didn't get to show the rounded out part of the tip that I had to deal with. Alright, so that's the 400 grit that I just did. I'm going to go ahead and demagnetize this blade because there was a lot of work that was done to that. I'm going to pull the burrs back some with a soft bristle brush. You can use a towel to do this. There's numerous things you can do. You can use your apron. All you want to do is just kind of flip-flop those burrs and get them kind of out of the way so that I can bring up my next set of burrs that I'm going to bring up. You could also put it on the waterstone as well to pull it back. I just don't like to take the chance of embedding coarser grits into my waterstones if I can help it. Alright, so I'm going to clamp this back in. I'm going to swap this 400 grit for start by pulling back towards myself because I want to make sure that I pull any residual burrs out and away from the inside of the shear. About 10 or 12 strokes or so, stop completely, lift off, wipe down, we're going to check our ride. Alright, we sharpened down enough into that to really kind of take care of the rounded over tip too. It's just bare tip, which was good. Before I do the polish, take a quick look here and see if there's any other questions. Nope, not yet. That edge in, make sure it's fully converged, and rotate up, away from the edge, rotate up again, away from the edge with some additional pressure. Now I'm going to do some convexing on the front surface. I am not going all the way to the edge. I might bump it just a little bit here and there. But I just want to make sure that I polish in that front surface. And I'm going to go ahead and see if I can polish in the tip area a little bit better, just to smooth that out just a smidge, to blend that in. Since this is in front of the writing on the shear, I want to smooth up the areas that I can where there's a writing. To get a tiny, tiny bit of the writing, but not much. And the customer knew that that might be the case as well. Always make sure you're communicating to yours. And then we're going to go ahead and put this shear back together and give it a test. I may do a touch-up on it, though. We'll clamp this up, put this back together. Make sure you pay attention when you take your shears apart so that you can get them back together properly. Make sure those burrs are eased off. I'm going to do a free fall test. Make sure that washer is seated. Stops at about the halfway point. Tips are just barely crossing. Alright, see if we break the handle on live. It's just a light squeeze. It does not feel like it really wants to move easily. Usually with a gentle squeeze you should be able to move the handle if it's going to move. Get it a little bit better, we're going to remove just a little bit of the bumper as well, just for good measure, to make sure these tips are crossing properly. I did have to remove a little bit more from this tip than I wanted to. Always make sure when you're doing this as well that you pay attention to where your fingers are. You never want to put your fingers between blades. You always want to make sure you're protecting yourself. And always take just a little bit off at a time, because you can take off but you can't put back on. Alright, that's much better. And what I'm going to do as well to try and get this to cut just a little bit nicer, since had to have so much work done to it, did have some pretty coarse burrs on there. I'm just going to make sure, particularly on the thumb blade, I just put a little extra polish on the thumb blade. And on this fixture you can actually reclamp your blade back into the fixture without taking it apart. You can't do that with your machine. There won't be time to think about an upgrade. I'm going to wipe this down. Ease that burr off that was created. And then we'll do a test cut. So we'll swing over here to my very dirty test cut area, obviously. Let's do this. Get a couple broken apart. I'm going to go ahead and do a test cut on just dry tissue, which cuts well. Tip pulls right away. I'm going to do a quick wet cut. As well. Make sure it's a nice clean cut. Clean cut all the way. Let's see if there's any questions. Nope. No questions. I see that there's about 7 people watching. If you want to go ahead and shout out a question while you've got me, you're welcome to do so. It doesn't have to be about what I'm doing either. Alright, I'll do the same thing with the next shear, because we have the same problems with this shear that we had with the other. Slight rounding at the tip. Look at the cut in and then the wrong angle on the edge. So, see if we can re-show this again, so you can see more or less what I'm up against. We'll straighten that out. Alright, so let's see if we can see this. You can see the really poorly polished edge above the bevel that was cut onto the shear, below the words, and then you can see the entire front surface was convex, but also beveled at the bottom and also not polished. So we'll see if we can rectify that. The inside work was not terrible. It's just there's a bit of a double angle on there, and then the tips were rounded just a little bit. So we just need to make sure that we can get past any of that damage. Slide you all back here. And again, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Also, give me a thumbs up as well if you can hear me okay. Want to make sure you can hear me all right. If you don't mind, you can do that just in the comments. Alright, we're going to take this shear apart. I'm going to flip this water stone over because I've done a couple of shears on this and I want a flat side to work on, especially since I had to do a little extra work on that last shear. So 5,000 grit water stone, Chapman Professional. Come to a complete stop and lift off. What happened with this set of shears, I was just in the salon and the owner of the salon had called me up to ask if I could fix these. Normally, I would have actually done these shears, but I had missed this stylist the last time I was here. She was on vacation. I was here about 4 months ago. And I think that she just decided to hand them to somebody else to do some work. And this was the result. So now I'm here doing some repairs. And the repairs on these are not excessive. It's more of just establishing a proper ride line on the inside and making sure there's no negative angle on the inside, which was the majority of the problem with the cut. These shears were not cutting. And then correcting the angle as well so that the blades actually shear like they're supposed to. Alright, so we got our 400 grit on here right now, set 45 degrees. We're going to change this 35 degree to a 45. Start the process of back hump or heel of the upper part of the angle that was cut onto the face of the shear. And then I'll do more of a swooping convex to recreate the clamshell face that's supposed to be on the shear. I'm not going to do that until I get my burr to come up and I actually knock down the backside of this angle just a little bit to make it easier to blend all of this together. And I'm doing this with a progressive edge, rotating back and forth as I go forward and backwards. Okay, I'm going to see if I can bring that tip up. Alright, that's better. We're going to see if we can smooth out those scratches on the front surface a little bit better this time. I think I missed some of them the last time I did this on the other blade. Right. Clean up that throat just a bit. Take this out. I'm going to remove any burrs. Just using a soft bristle brush. So I'm going to make sure I don't have any burn marks. Make sure I have a nice looking convex, which I do. And I'm going to switch over to a 1500 grit. lock this in. And I'm going to start the process of just convexing this front surface. We'll do a series of progressive, circular, and swooping convexing. So I start to see a new burr form up at the edge. Doesn't have to be a heavy burr, because I've already created a good edge. I just want to bring up a slight burr, so I know I've gone all the way to the edge, and I've created a finer edge at the cutting edge of the shear, of the blade. Alright, that burr's just about all the way up to the tip again. Looks good. Now we're just going to do just a little bit more cosmetic work. Coming back up towards that spine. You don't want to come too far up onto the spine and rotate over the top of it. Smoothing that all out. Make sure that I get my ride area in nicely. I tend to not cut that in as clean, so I always have to go back and redress it up. We all have our weaknesses in the sharpening that we do. Alright, that looks pretty good. Just going to ease those burrs back. This is the brush that I use. This brush is a soft bristle brush, just like this one is. Since that brush is no longer available on the market, this one is. It's like about $5 from Amazon. Either one will work fine. Alright, that removes some of the burrs. Again, the main reason that I do that is I don't like to embed burrs into my waterstone. There will be some residual burrs that are left over at the edge though. So you always want to start by pulling back towards yourself to pull those burrs out and away. You could even do a second pull if you wanted to, because I pull the burrs back, especially if you're pulling the burrs back with the stone. Make sure you do 1 or 2 pullbacks on this for sure, to pull those burrs all the way back before you go forward, because you don't want to pull burrs up and under and actually scratch the inside surface of the shear. You also don't want to embed burrs into your waterstone. Just a little bit more. Stop completely. Red line looks good. I'm working the ride area just a little bit because I want to make sure that ride area is completely smoothed out. On this one, there was a little bit of damage on the ride area, and I wanted to completely correct that. Let's see, hey Jim, I have a question about spare parts, clicker plates, where to buy. You can buy them from Randy Lowe, or you can buy them from Bonnie McGowan with shears. If you look up Randy Lowe, L-O-W-E, in Mount Wolf, Pennsylvania on Google, you can find that and say thank you for letting me watch. This is 2019. I was active from 86. All right, John. Well, great. I'm glad that you. All right. So now we're going to do a polish at the edge. We'll see if we have to add some more compound or not. I may want to, just to help with taking surface. This is just a light pressure, basically, with the weight of my hands on the fixture. Rotate back just a little bit, adding just a tiny bit of pressure to help smooth out right behind the angle. And now I'm going to do my convexing across the face. I am not bringing the fixture all the way back to the touch point of the angle itself. So this fixture has a stop on it that lets me set a specific angle on the face. I'm going to do some circular motions to disturb the scratch pattern. I'm going to do a progressive pattern back and forth. I'm going to do a swooping pattern to remove scratches. I'm going to go back down towards the edge just a little bit, not bringing it all the way to the edge. Just to dress all that in and blend that in. Then we'll stop and take a look. The remainder will be done free now. Like there's a little bit of scratches up on this area right here and then in the throat. We'll dress that up. came out a lot better than the previous one did. I did a better job of removing the scratches up towards the top. Come back in here and do our 400 grit. Burr. And again, I'm doing a progressive edge on this one because I don't want to go all the way past where the wording is if I can help it. The customer would like to keep the verbiage that's on the shear. There's the burr in the throat. I'm going to start working the burr down towards the tip. I'm taking a little bit of extra off of the tip area as well. The reason that I'm doing that is because, again, that tip was rounded just slightly on this particular blade. Ride line looks good on this one. Pull that burr back. I'm going to switch from my 400 grit to the 1500. Take care of the heavier scratches that I did. Ran that progressive convex on the front surface with a little bit of a rotating convex just to smooth everything out. And again, this is just to avoid the writing on the front of the shear and blend it into the front surface. Now that tip is brought in, I'm going to go back just a little bit further on the tip. As well, just to go ahead and remove a little bit of the bulk of the front of this blade, because this one had a pretty hefty thickness to the tip. And pull my burrs back gently. Ride line looks good. Front surface looks good. Go back to the waterstone. Down. Don't want to get any burrs in the previous work embedded. Pull back to pull the burrs back that may be on that edge still. Work back and forth about 10 or 12 times. Stop completely before I lift off. Cut in looks good. Touch up just a smidge. Still in that ride area, because there was a little damage in the ride area on this particular shear. I want to make sure that I get that nicely smooth, which looks good. That'll have an effect on the feel of the cut. Start that polish up. Rotate back. Rotate back with a little more pressure. I was using just the weight of my hands and the fixture at the edge. Rotating back and actually reducing my pressure. And just convexing. I'm also going to make sure I work that tip just a little bit more, because again, I wanted to get rid of some of that bulk. You could hear possibly that I lightened my pressure as I went back closer to the edge. I don't want to put too much pressure on the edge because I don't want to wrap it. Remember, that's a felt pad with 3 micron diamond paste, and that could actually wrap the edge if you're a little too aggressive. Alright, that looks good everywhere except for the throat. I'm going to touch up throat just a little bit. This disc is getting to the point where the edge is starting to round over. So it's getting close to time to actually probably switch that out. Alright, that looks good. Put our shear back together. Always make sure you pay attention to how the shirt comes apart so you can put it back together properly. Kind of ease the burrs off of the blades. Do a free fall test. Seat the washer. Still a little bit loose. Turn, that actually looks pretty good. Seat the washer, that looks good. Cross those tips just a little bit more. Let's see if this one bends. The other one did not want to, at least not much. This one's moving a little bit better, so it's always interesting. It's same shear. The other one did move as well. This one moved just a little bit more, but it doesn't feel like it really has a good give to it. So I'm going to do to this one like I did the other. I moved it a little bit with banging the handle. Now I'm going to remove a little bit of the bumper. I like to take as little of the bumper off as I can. Always make sure that your hands are not between the blades when you do this. Alright, those tips are crossing nicely now. Swap this back out because I can guarantee you I will forget to do that if I don't do it now. And I'm going to go ahead and put this back in. Just do a touch up on the thumb blade. Again, because I had to do so much work with the coarseness of the grits. Just want to make sure I have a nice smooth cut on this one. And all I'm doing is just touching up that edge just in case there's any residual burrs that are left over. I'm going to go ahead and ease. Those burrs off, and then we'll go ahead and do a test. See if there's any questions. Sorry about this. I have to come behind this to actually see if there's any questions when I do this. So again, if you have any questions for me in particular, you need to reach out because I'm getting ready to shut this live down. This is the last blade. Stop. And then I need to head on over to my next. They've already contacted me asking when I was going to be by. So I'm going to test this on just regular tissue. Nice, real clean cut, no push. I'm going to go ahead and get a feel for our gonna moisten this. Make sure I don't shoot it over my test furrow this time. Do another test.